All right, get ready to dive deep because today we're tackling motivation.
Ooh, exciting.
Really getting into what makes us tick based on Dan Pink's drive.
Yeah, great choice.
And be warned, we might bust a few myths along the way about what we think gets us going.
Definitely. Pink challenges a lot of conventional wisdom.
Totally. Like that whole carrots and sticks approach.
Right. You'd think rewards would be the ultimate motivator.
Exactly. But Pink says not so fast.
Yeah, he actually argues they can backfire, especially for those of us in more creative fields.
Which is kind of wild when you think about it.
It really is.
So, to kick things off, Pink starts with the story about Harry Harlow.
Oh, yeah, the monkey guy.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Back in the 50s, he was studying monkeys and gave them these puzzles to solve.
And the monkeys loved it.
I know, right? They were totally into it, solving them just for the fun of it.
Pure intrinsic motivation.
Exactly. But then Harlow's like, hey, let's see what happens when I give them raisins for solving the puzzles.
Because everyone loves raisins, right?
You'd think that would make them work even harder.
Totally.
But here's the crazy part. Their performance tanked.
It's true. Like, they actually got worse.
It's like the raisins somehow took the fun out of it.
It's a classic case of the Sawyer effect.
Ah, like in Tom Sawyer, where he convinces his friends that painting the fence is a privilege.
Yep. Pink's saying that sometimes rewards can turn play into work.
And kill that intrinsic motivation.
It's wild. It's like, why even bother with the puzzle if you just focused on the raisin?
I know, right? It makes you wonder how often that happens in real life.
All the time.
And Pink backs this up with more research,
Oh, yeah, tons of it.
like Edward Dici's experiment with the Soma puzzle cube.
That's a good one.
Participants who weren't paid spent way more time playing with the puzzle than those who were.
So basically, paying people to do something can make them less interested in doing it.
Which just seems bonkers.
It really does defy logic.
It's like we've got this whole reward system backwards.
Maybe so.
But Pink gives some pretty compelling real-world examples.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Wikipedia.
Which is fascinating because it was created entirely by volunteers,
And it ended up blowing away Microsoft's Encarta.
which was created by paid professionals.
It's like a case study in the power of intrinsic motivation.
It really shows how powerful it can be.
So if carrots and sticks aren't always the answer,
Yeah.
what is?
Well, Pink has some ideas.
Lay it on me.
He starts by calling out this traditional motivation 2.0.
Which is basically the whole carrot and stick thing.
Yep. And he says it might work for simple, repetitive tasks.
But for the kind of complex work we do today,
Not so much.
it's like trying to run a fancy new program on an old, clunky computer.
Just can't handle it.
Right. And to prove his point,
Yeah.
Pink brings up a ton of research that shows just how often rewards backfire,
Like that study in India.
where higher financial incentives led to worse performance.
Seriously. The more money they offered.
The worse people did.
It's mind-boggling.
I know, right? It's like our whole understanding of motivation is flawed.
Maybe we need to rethink things a bit.
I think you're right.
And Pink has some ideas on where to start.
So let's dive in. What does he suggest?
Well, it starts with a new model he calls Motivation 3.0.
Okay, catchy name.
And it's all about tapping into something he calls type I behavior.
Type I.
Basically think intrinsic motivation.
Ah, so doing things because we genuinely enjoy them, not just for some external reward.
Exactly. It's about finding joy and satisfaction in the work itself.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But what makes someone a type I person? What drives that kind of behavior?
Well, Pink breaks it down into three key elements: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. It's
Okay.
like feeling in control of your work, having the drive to get better at something that matters to you, and then feeling connected to something bigger than yourself.
It's like a trifecta of motivation.
It really is. And it all starts with autonomy.
So like having the freedom to choose how you approach your work.
Exactly. It's about feeling ownership over your tasks, having a say in how things get done.
Not just being told what to do and how to do it.
Right. It's about having some control over your work life, making choices.
Okay, I'm starting to see how that could be super motivating.
It can be incredibly empowering.
Pink probably has some good examples of this, right?
He does. He talks about Atlassian, the software company.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
They implemented this thing called 20% time.
20% time. What's that?
Basically, they let their employees spend 20% of their work time on projects of their own choosing.
Wow, that's pretty radical.
It is, but it totally worked.
Seriously,
It led to some of their most innovative products and a more engaged workforce.
I can see how that would be motivating.
It's like having a side hustle within your actual job.
Did Pink go into detail about how Atlassian actually put this into practice?
He did. He talks about the 4 T's of autonomy: task, time, technique, and team.
4 T's, huh?
Mm,
So they give their employees freedom in all those areas.
totally. They could choose what they worked on, when they worked on it, how they approached it, and even who they worked with.
So it was a pretty holistic approach to giving employees autonomy.
It was. And it makes you wonder if this could work in other industries too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Pink argues it can.
He does.
Yeah. He points out that while autonomy might look different in various fields, the underlying principle is the same.
It's still about giving people more control over their work lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even professions where people are constantly being told what to do.
Oh, I know a few of those.
Pink actually brings up an interesting example with lawyers.
Lawyers, really?
Yeah. He says that while lawyers often score high on pessimism, it can actually be an advantage in their profession.
Wait, pessimism can be a good thing.
It's not about being negative, but about being realistic and prepared.
So it's more about being cautious,
Kind of. Pink explains that since law is often a zero-sum game,
where one side wins, the other loses.
right, a pessimistic outlook can help lawyers anticipate problems and develop better strategies.
Huh, that's interesting.
It is. It challenges that whole think positive mantra we hear all the time.
I like that.
And it shows how traits that might be seen as negative in some contexts can actually be strengths in others.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've talked about autonomy. What about mastery? That desire to get better at something that matters to you.
Right. Pink links mastery to the concept of flow.
Flow, like going with the flow?
Not exactly. Think more like that state of deep engagement when you're totally immersed in a challenge.
Oh, yeah, like when you're so engrossed in a project, you lose track of time.
That's it. It's like being in the zone.
I totally get that. So, is there a way to intentionally cultivate that flow?
Pink talks about the guy who coined the term flow, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi.
That's a mouthful.
I know, right? But his own experiences during World War II actually led him to study these states of intense absorption.
Wow, during World War II, what happened?
Well, he was in the middle of all this chaos and suffering, but he found solace in activities like playing chess.
Ah, so even in really tough times, he found a way to experience flow.
Exactly. And it made him want to understand what creates those states.
Makes sense. So Pink saying that flow is key to achieving mastery.
He is. But it doesn't just happen automatically.
Right, it takes effort, dedication.
And what Csikszentmihalyi calls Goldilocks tasks.
Goldilocks tasks. What are those?
Challenges that are neither too easy nor too difficult.
So not too hard that you give up, but not too easy that you get bored.
You got it. There has to be that sweet spot to keep you engaged and in flow.
Okay, so finding those Goldilocks tasks is important.
It is. And Pink goes on to lay out what he calls the 3 laws of mastery.
3 laws, huh? Okay, I'm listening.
The first is that mastery is a mindset.
So it's not just about talent or skill.
Right. It's about believing that you can develop your abilities. You're not limited by some fixed talent.
So it's about having a growth mindset.
Exactly. Believing that you can always get better.
That makes sense. Okay, what's the second law?
The second law is that mastery is a pain.
No pain, no gain.
It's not about seeking out suffering, but acknowledging that it takes effort and dedication to achieve mastery.
Yeah, you got to be willing to push through those tough spots.
Pink uses the example of those West Point cadets.
Those guys go through some intense training.
They do. And it wasn't their intellect or athleticism that predicted their success. It was their grit.
Their perseverance, their passion.
Exactly. Mastery is a marathon, not a sprint.
I like that. Okay, so what's the third law?
The third law is that mastery is an asymptote,
An asymptote.
meaning you never truly reach it.
So it's like a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. There's always room for improvement, another level to strive for.
It's a beautiful concept. Mastery can keep us engaged for years to come.
It can. We never really arrive because there's always more to learn.
Makes me think of those lifelong learners always taking on new challenges.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They never get complacent because they're always striving for that next level.
But doesn't that get exhausting?
It can be, but Pink says mastery can actually be good for our mental health.
Really? How so?
He cites Csikszentmihalyi's research, which shows that people who experience flow regularly have lower levels of anxiety and depression.
So engaging in those challenging, flow-inducing activities can actually be good for us.
That's what the research suggests.
It's like a win-win. Okay, so we've covered autonomy and mastery. What about purpose? How does that fit in?
Well, Pink says it's a big one.
It's gotta be if it's part of this type I trifecta.
Right. He's basically saying that we as humans were driven to find meaning.
Yeah, like our lives have significance. We're part of something bigger.
Exactly. It's not just about success or money, it's about making a difference.
Like we're wired for it.
And Pink points out how this desire for purpose is even stronger now.
Is it? Why is that?
Well, he says, as baby boomers are retiring, they're starting to reflect on their legacy.
Like, what was it all for?
Right. It's not just a personal quest either.
Really? How so?
Businesses are starting to realize it's not all about profits anymore.
It's about purpose, too.
Totally. Like consumers are more aware now.
And they're choosing companies that align with their values.
Exactly. It's not just what you sell, it's why you sell it.
I like that.
Pink uses the example of Thomas shoes.
The ones that donate a pair for every pair you buy.
Yep. It's built right into their business model.
But doesn't that sometimes feel kind of gimmicky? Like companies just trying to look good?
It can be. And Pink actually warns about that.
He does.
Yeah, he says while purpose can be motivating, it can backfire if it's not authentic.
Makes sense.
He talks about corporate ethics guidelines.
I mean, those are a good thing, right?
In theory, yeah. But Pink says they can have unintended consequences.
How so?
Well, they're supposed to promote ethical behavior,
Right.
but they can turn something that's intrinsically motivated, like doing the right thing because it's the right thing,
Yeah.
into just checking boxes.
So instead of following their own moral compass?
People are just trying to comply with the rules.
That makes sense. It kind of takes the heart out of it.
Right, it creates a culture of compliance rather than genuine commitment,
It reminds me of that research Pink talks about, pro-social spending.
where people felt happier spending money on others.
Yeah. It's like our drive to contribute is stronger than our drive to just get stuff for ourselves.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, if these Motivation 3.0 ideas are so great,
Yeah.
could they work in other areas, like education?
Now that's an interesting thought. Imagine kids being excited to learn
Because they have the freedom to explore their own interests
and develop their skill.
and feel like they're actually contributing to something meaningful.
It'd be a whole different world.
Pink actually thinks it's possible.
Really?
He talks about some really innovative schools that are already doing this.
Get out. Like,
Well, there's the Sudbury Valley School.
haven't heard of it?
The kids there have total freedom to choose what they learn, when they learn it, even how they learn it.
Wait, no structure, no curriculum?
Nope. The idea is that kids are naturally curious and self-directed.
So the school provides the resources and mentors.
And the kids are in charge.
That's amazing.
Pink also mentions big picture learning.
What's that one about?
They focus on real-world experiences and personalized learning plans.
So kids can see how their education connects to their passions.
Exactly. It makes you wonder why more schools aren't doing this.
I know, right? It just seems like common sense.
It's not always easy to change these big systems, but people are realizing the old factory model of education isn't working.
It's like we're trying to mass produce learners, but every kid is unique.
We get so caught up in tests and grades that we forget about what really motivates kids to learn.
So what can parents and educators do even if their kid's school isn't exactly Motivation 3.0 central?
A lot. Start by giving kids more choices, even small ones, like what they read or what projects they do,
Give them a sense of ownership.
and praise their effort, not just outcome.
Encourage that growth mindset.
Right. And help them see how their learning connects to something bigger.
Nurture that intrinsic motivation, the joy of learning.
Exactly.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
So what's the one thing you really hope people take away from this?
I think it's that motivation comes from within.
We all have that drive to learn, to grow, to contribute,
It's about tapping into that third drive, as Pink calls it.
and creating environments where it can thrive.
It's not just about being productive. It's about living a more fulfilling life.
I love that. So one last question as we wrap up. What's one small step people can take today to put these ideas into practice?
Think of one area where you want more autonomy, mastery, or purpose, and take one small step towards it.
That's great advice.
You might be surprised what happens.
Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with me. It's been a blast.
It's been my pleasure. Remember, keep those third drives revving.